For 3 straight days, the MV Horizon Titan, a 250,000-ton cargo ship, remained stranded in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. What was supposed to be a routine transatlantic voyage had turned into a floating crisis. The ship's colossal engines had come to a dead halt. No warning, no explosion, just silence and stillness. The captain and crew tried all they could. Nothing worked. The shipping company, alarmed by the delay and the mounting cost of lost time, immediately flew in a team of elite marine engineers. Specialists from Germany, Japan, and the US arrived, with toolkits and laptops, thermal scanners, and diagnostic drones. Every piece of equipment was scrutinized. Engine room schematics were spread across tables like battle maps. Teams worked in shifts, barely sleeping, trying to decode the mysterious failure. Every hour cost tens of thousands in cargo delays, fuel, and operational losses. Satellite calls buzzed in and out. Headquarters demanded answers. Engineers whispered terms like catastrophic system failure and rare cascading anomaly. Still, no one had an actual solution. Through all this, Miguel Reyes kept to his routine. He was the ship's janitor, or more accurately, the maintenance support assistant, as his official badge read. A quiet, unassuming man of 40, Miguel had worked aboard various ships for nearly 2 decades. Cleaning bathrooms, mopping corridors, replacing ceiling tiles, unclogging kitchen drains. He did it all without complaint. Most of the crew barely noticed him anymore. He was part of the background, like a light fixture or a pipe in the wall. But Miguel wasn't ordinary. Not entirely. Unlike most janitors, Miguel had a secret habit. He observed everything. Over the years, he had watched hundreds of engineers and mechanics do their work. He asked quiet questions, listened more than he spoke, and never forgot a detail. He had no formal training, no engineering degree, and no certifications, but he understood machinery in a way that couldn't be taught. On the 3rd morning, while wiping the floor near the auxiliary control room, Miguel felt it, a faint rhythmic vibration beneath the metal deck. It was subtle, but familiar. He had felt something eerily similar on an older cargo ship 10 years earlier, just before a critical electrical relay failed. He paused, his mop hovering mid-air. The vibration wasn't near the main engine. It came from a rarely checked backup panel, tucked behind the bulkhead near the forward thrusters. He narrowed his eyes. Why didn't anyone check that? Later. That day, during a shift change, Miguel approached Chief Engineer Wallace, a stressed, sleep-deprived man who had barely eaten since arriving on board. Excuse me, sir, Miguel said hesitantly. Would it be all right if I took a look at something? Wallace blinked, clearly surprised. At what? That panel behind the auxiliary station. I think something might be off. The engineer stared at him for a moment. Under normal circumstances, he might have laughed or brushed the janitor off, but these weren't normal circumstances. They were out of time, out of ideas, and stuck in the middle of nowhere. Fine, Wallace muttered. Just don't touch anything you're not supposed to. Miguel nodded, grabbed a small toolkit from the maintenance closet, and headed below deck. The panel was dusty, barely touched in years. As he opened it, a puff of hot air hissed out. Inside, he found what he suspected, a corroded relay switch, barely making contact. One edge of it was stuck open, jammed by a tiny sliver of oxidized metal. Something so small, no scanner would have detected it. Miguel gently tapped the edge of the component. Nothing moved. Then, using a wire from a broken flashlight and a piece of a mop handle, he fashioned a crude but precise hook. He reached in carefully, nudged the jammed piece out, and waited. There was a soft click. Then another. A low hum began to vibrate through the floor. Lights flickered once. Asterisk. Then, the unmistakable roar of the engine igniting. Asterisk above deck. People froze. Radios buzzed to life. On the bridge, dials and monitors sprang back from the dead. Propeller shafts slowly began to turn. Crew members who had been slumped with exhaustion were now wide-eyed and upright. Asterisk Wallace, still monitoring the engine room, stared at the main screen in disbelief. Asterisk, it's working, he muttered. Asterisk moments later, the captain's voice echoed across the intercom. Ladies and gentlemen, the ship is moving again. Repeat, we have propulsion. Asterisk cheers erupted on every level of the vessel. Relief flooded the corridors. Engineers stared at each other in confusion, wondering what had just happened. Asterisk Wallace turned to Miguel, his voice tight with disbelief. What did you do? Asterisk Miguel shrugged, wiping sweat from his forehead. Just cleaned up a little mess, sir. Asterisk later that evening, a full debrief was held in the mess hall. The captain, a stern and seasoned man named Holbrook, stood at the front with the chief engineer beside him. Asterisk, there are times in life, the captain began, when experience trumps education, when instinct outmatches analysis. Today, we were saved not by our most expensive experts, but by a man many of us overlooked. Asterisk all eyes turned to Miguel, who stood awkwardly near the back, still in his coveralls. Asterisk. This man, Holbrook continued, did the unthinkable. When the best minds failed, he trusted what he felt, what he had learned in silence over years of hard work. Miguel Reyes, on behalf of every person on this ship, thank you. The entire room erupted in applause. Miguel nodded politely. He wasn't used to the spotlight. In fact, he didn't want it. Later, when the shipping company offered him a promotion, a raise, even a chance to train formally as an engineer, he declined. Asterisk, I'm happy where I am, he said quietly. I just like fixing things. Asterisk, but from that day on, no one on the MV Horizon Titan ever looked at a janitor the same way again. Asterisk, and somewhere in the Atlantic, beneath the stars, a ship moved forward, not just powered by its engines, but by the unseen brilliance of a man who refused to be defined by his title.